Before we get started on the job, I just want to mention, I'm going to be showing you how to do one side of the vehicle. The process will be the exact same thing for the other. Let's get started. One of the first things you want to do is safely raise and support the rear of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground, and it's a good idea to have it hanging. The next thing we're going to do, if you have a hubcap, is go ahead and take that off now. Once you have that off of there, continue on to removing all 4 of your 21mm lug nuts and then the wheel. Now that we have the wheel off of there, let's carefully remove our brake drum. Give that a close inspection. Make sure you don't see any rot or damage. Ours is brand new. Set that aside. Now let's have a look from the back side. From the back, you're going to want to find where the bearing's located, and you're going to want to find the ABS sensor. That ABS sensor is going to have a little wire that goes to the back. You need to release that, give it a clear inspection for corrosion, and then set it aside. That looks good. We'll set that wire aside. The next thing you're going to want to do is move along to your 4 12mm mounting bolts. We'll remove all 4, leave one of them in a few threads, and then we'll continue by removing the bearing from the axle assembly. 2 of the bolts are going to be up nice and high where you can see them. The other 2 are going to be down beneath each of those. Just leave that in there a couple threads and fully remove the other 3. Now that I have my 3 mounting bolts out of there and I left 1 started in just a few threads, I'm going to continue on by trying to remove the bearing from the backing plate. You can either try using a hammer, give it a couple loving bonks, or you could even try using a pry bar. If you try using a pry bar, be extremely careful not to damage your wheel cylinder. If you're having a hard time removing the bearing, typically you're going to have to come from the back and try to drive out the bolts, which will push out the bearing. To easily access that, we'll come down here with a 17mm to remove this nut. Before you do that though, make sure you put something to support underneath the axle to make sure it doesn't drop too far. Now I can move the shock around as needed. I'll remove my mounting bolt. Now the next thing I like to do is try to press out the bearing from the backside towards the front. Just keep in mind, we don't have any safety apparatus inside here, so as we're trying to press it through, make sure it doesn't come out and potentially hurt you. I've got this moving around a little bit, and it's common for the backing plate to want to come off at the same time. You just want to be careful because there is brake lines that lead to the back, and you don't want to damage those. There it is, friends. Once you have your original bearing out of the area, continue on by cleaning up the threads on all 4 of your mounting bolts. Once you've cleaned your bolts, continue on with a little bit of red thread locker. Now let's use a wire brush. We're going to clean up the entire hole where the wheel bearing goes and along the backing plate where the base mounts against. All right, let's continue on by installing our brand new rear wheel bearing. We'll just go ahead and raise the backing plate up so that the holes line up with the back area there. Slide your wheel bearing into place. Line up all 4 of your mounting bolt holes and then start in all 4 of the mounting bolts from the back side. We'll just move things around as necessary to get them lined up. Once you have all 4 of the mounting bolts started, you can go ahead and snug them up, and then we'll torque them to manufacturer's specification. Now that I have all 4 bolts snugged, I'm going to continue by torquing these to 46 foot-pounds. Let's connect in our ABS wire. Line it up, slide it in, listen for a click. After you hear the click, go ahead and give it a tug to make sure it's completely secure. Now we're at the point we can grab that rear shock. We'll get it lined up with the stud that protrudes through. Press it right on there. Continue on with your washer and your mounting nut. Now we can go ahead and put this nut on here. We'll bottom it out, and then we're going to torque it to 36 foot-pounds. The next thing you want to do is pay attention to all the springs and the mounting hardware for your brake shoes. Assuming everything looks good, let's continue on applying some copper never sees to the mating surface of our hub. After you do that, continue on to the back surface of the drum. You want to make sure you don't have any rust or debris on the surface area that's going to be pressed directly against the hub. Go ahead and sand it down as needed. Slide the drum on there. Now let's get the jack out from under the area. Let's get the wheel up on here. Now we can go ahead and start on all 4 of our 21mm lug nuts. We'll bottom them out, get the wheel safely back on the ground, and then we'll torque each of them to 76 foot-pounds. With the wheel safely back on the ground, let's torque these to 76 in a crisscross manner. Torqued. If you have a hubcap, go ahead and put that on now. There's one area on the hubcap that you want to pay special attention to. That's the area with the carve out that's supposed to be for the valve stem. Go ahead and line it up. Knock it into place. Make sure it's completely secured all the way around so it doesn't fall off while you're driving down the road. Okay, friend, we got our wheel bearing installed. At this point, you want to go for a road test, listen for any funny noises, and make sure you don't have an ABS light. After that, get yourself safely down to your local alignment shop. Thanks for watching.